Ooh, this is so fun and so pretty. I like it. All right. Let's invite some other people. All right. Well, just give you guys a few minutes to pop on. Maybe I should walk around a little bit. And as I wait for some of you guys to pop on, go and sit in my spot that I really like. Message with y'all that I have today. Talking about and yeah, the Capricorn full moon is inspiring this message. So just give you guys a few minutes to get on. Really loving this filter. This filter is so cool. Hi, puppy! Hi! Bye! Okay. Oh boy. When this thing happens, let's try this again. Oh no. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. All right. So, almost to the spot, guys. Almost to the spot. And yeah. And then I shall share with you some of the things. Oh my gosh, this feels so good. I love this. I should get my legs up. Yeah. Okay. So, just make sure I don't cover that up. All right, so this is what I wanted to jam with you guys about. And this is, again, this is about being your own authority and personal responsibility to yourself, self with a capital S, responsibility to the message, and yeah. Okay, so I would say 8 years ago, 11 years ago, 11 years ago, yeah. You know, I was much more in my career. And this is also about, you know, business and career and things like that as well. So, Is there a way for me to title this first? Perhaps I should do that. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Now that we've had like all of these whatever, let's get into it. I'm kind of waiting for some of you guys to jump on, and nobody's jumping on, which is kind of like whatever, I guess. Let's see. Is this? No, I already did that. I wonder if there's a way for me to... No, I was seeing if I could share this into my group, but no. All right. Okay. So, yeah, so where was I? I was talking about 11 years ago, back when, you know, I was definitely much more into my practice as a doctor of Oriental medicine. But I also used to host, facilitate new and full moon circles for women. And, you know, this was something that I had created on my own. It was actually something that I had never heard of before, believe it or not. It was just something that I was just like, like this is cool. Like, let me create a group and teach people about this stuff that I'm into. Because at that time, you know, for me, let me back up even more. And for a lot of you guys, you know, that, you know, are on this path with me, that know me, I'm sure that you're like this as well, which is one of the ways in which that we resonate, is that I'm a perpetual student. In fact, I consider myself a professional student. I have made a career out of being a perpetual student. And this is something that more and more as we step into the age of Aquarius, that this is about, right? Because Aquarius is about knowledge. It's about gnosis and information and the sharing of ideas through shared values and interests and ideals, okay? So more and more, I mean, it's a reason why there is even a whole industry such as the, you know, coaching industry, because that's what the coaching industry is about. It's about sharing information and knowledge about how you did something. If you can, you know, share how you did something, you know, what methods and information and knowings and practices and path that you took to get somewhere, you can teach that to somebody else. And that is going to be a value towards somebody else that they can exchange, you know, value with you for. So something that I've always thought like was just kind of so funny is like, and for a little while I think I got a little bit jaded about the coaching industry and how, you know, the coaching industry is just like other coaches teaching coaches how to coach. And I was just like, wait a minute, are we just like coaching people how to coach people? Like coaching people how to, you know, how to be a coach. And it was, you know, and for whatever reason, whatever, it works, you know what I mean? It's the business is in the marketplace, the free marketplace is about what do people want, you know? And as long as you can resonate and find people that want what you're selling, that's a legitimate business. And, you know, and I mean, now we're kind of getting into different, maybe morality and ethics and, is that what but you understand what I'm saying, like it's kind of funny and also like it serves people. So anyhow, circling back. So I was doing this, and at that time, so many people used to tell me like, wow, Stephanie, like your knowledge of the body and, health and fitness and, the energies, and emotional intelligence, like you're just so good at that. Like, wow, like really a lot of, people being very compelled by that and very, very, and I felt very valued and appreciated, for that. And I remember, being in one of these circles that I, was also with other, leaders and other people. And I remember at some point somebody telling, because at this point, as I was really, because I'm always learning and growing, what happens is, once I get into a new subject, I am like balls deep, okay? Like I am just like in it and I want to devour and absorb, and I'm like fully impassioned. I want to learn everything about this that there is to know. And that's just always been my way. And I've done this through many, many different disciplines. And, that's why I consider myself a multi-passionate artist. And it's also one of the reasons that I'm able to approach topics, issues, goals from multiple different angles and see things from multiple different angles, because I have these lens from all the studying and the experience that I've gone through. So, but what happens at some point is, at some point along that journey of mastering a subject, I will find myself wanting a new set of lens, and so that happened to me with Chinese medicine. Is I was just like, I'm ready for a new set of lens. And so astrology was really, really up in my, in my interest at that point. And so hence one of the reasons why I began integrating astrology into my practice for my community, for my patients, and hosting these new and full moon circles. And so in these full moon and new moon circles, I would start sharing about astrology and about the moon and about the planets and that integration with health and the human body, and just talking about what I wanted to talk about and what interested me. And at some point, one of, a colleague of mine, was like sharing with me that, you should just stick to what you know, Stephanie. Like, you're so good at the body and you're so good at health. And it's just like so amazing when you talk about this. So just stick to that, And I remember, that being a very, that did not ring true for me at that point in time. And this person, happened to be an astrologer and was teaching on astrology. And so, let me know if this is something that you've ever run across in the comments. By the way, if you're watching this on the replay, #replay and engage. Something that, the most successful people, they have done studies on this, that the most successful people in their field, what they do is in order to fully integrate the information that is being presented to them, and here's the thing, if something is being presented to you, it's in your sphere, it's for you. There is a message there for you. So, in order to fully receive that gift, in order to really receive that information and integrate it, what they do is they engage with it. So, this is something that I do, and it's something that I recommend for all of my students, for my STARDISCO alumni, for those who are in, any of my master classes, is to use the comment box as your notepad, especially if you're watching this on the replay, like ask questions, engage, do something that is helping you to integrate, because you're not just passively just, receiving, like you're doing something that's getting a different part of your brain to fully absorb and integrate the information. So let me know, if this is something where you, in your industry, where you felt like, I don't want to talk about this certain subject because, that's my coach's subject, or that's my friend's subject, or that's so-and-so's area of expertise, and I don't want to step on their toes, and it might even come from this place of scarcity, like there isn't enough. And for me, like that, my intuitive sense, when I really felt into and contemplated where all this was coming from, was it was coming from this place of somebody felt that perhaps I was stepping on their toes, and that, that there wasn't enough, for both of us to be talking about astrology, or for both of us to be talking about. And so let me know in the comments if you've ever felt that way. Have you ever felt like, like I'm a relationship coach, perhaps, or, my business is in health, or my relationship is business, and, therefore, I can't ever talk about, hello, Natalie, welcome. I can never talk about money, or I can't talk about, this other area of this other subject area, because that's so-and-so's industry, and I don't want to step on their toes. I don't want to take away from them. I don't want them to, feel like I'm in their territory, or that I'm going beyond, or whatever, all of this, nonsense, basically, that the not self and or the mind comes up with to keep you in your box, to keep you in your lane, to keep you in the status quo, okay? Let me know if this has happened to you. So this was something that was happening to me at that time, and I remember really feeling into it and really asking myself, like, wait a minute, am I in integrity with delivering the message that I want to bring? And at that time, it was talking about astrology and integrating astrology with health and fitness, with relationships, with all of the things that I was already into, with aromatherapy, with perfume, with blah, 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 blah. And I said to myself, like, I am my own authority. Like, actually, no, I'm going to continue talking about what I want to talk about. And that was very challenging for me at the time. But I continued to do it anyway. And what ended up happening eventually is I ended up going my own way, because it wasn't like, there always felt like a subtle competition vibe going on with this other person, with this, experience. And for me, that wasn't, an energy. And at that time, I'm choosing to remember whether, I think I did actually bring this up. There was, a point where I brought it up and I shared my feelings, and it just, it never, and at that time, my emotional intelligence was still definitely, and my relationship, my ability to, find harmony, and, and it just wasn't fitting. It wasn't a click. And so I ended up, going in my own direction. And not too long after that is when I, came out, with my own, I stopped, I went my own journey as an entrepreneur. And so I established myself as an entrepreneur, doing what it was the very beginning of where I'm at now. I'm going to get to some of these comments in just a moment, Natalie. It was exactly like that, coming out, right, of who I am and what I want to do, and, flying my freak flag, being the rebel, and, and so in hindsight, So now, here's the funny thing, and what I had began talking about, Natalie, was that, like, 11 years ago, so many people would come up to me and be like, wow, like, you really are, like, you have a genius, like, you have a body genius. Like, when it comes to the body and when it comes to health and fitness and all of these things, there is a level of genius of which you have, right? And that has been now, where I'm at now and where I'm at today. My inbox and my messages and from my clients, that is what I receive today in the realm of astrology and in the realm of, emotional intelligence is now, so many people say that to me, like, wow, this is your genius. And the other day I chuckled and I said to myself, I said, wow. I said, had I not been my own authority, had I not been willing to rock the boat, to make somebody else uncomfortable, to avoid conflict at the expense of truth, had I not stood for what I believed in and what I valued and what I loved and just continued talking about what I wanted to talk about and what brought me joy and excitement and all the things, I would not been able to be where I'm at today, 11 years later. That's actually how you develop mastery. And there is something to be said, about this jack of all trades and a master of none. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, and I get to the point sometimes too where I'm like, I'm done with astrology. Like, I really want to focus on my music now and just be all about my music and be all about my dance and be all about modeling and fitness and, and performance. And, but astrology always weaves its way back into my life. And Chinese medicine always weaves its way back into my life. And art always weaves its way back into my life because they are a part of me. They are me. It's not something that I've dabbled in on a shallow surface level. It's something that has so deeply become a part of who I am that even if I'm not like full on into it, because I have mastered it, it's like, I'll give you another example. Like when I was in Chinese medicine school, part of what we had to practice in our training was Qigong, Tai Chi, and meditation. And we had to meditate for 4 hours in class. And I believe that we had class like 2 to 3 times a week. So for 2 to 3 times a week, we were meditating for, between Tai Chi, Qigong, and meditation 4 hours a day. And I remember getting to this place, after I completed those, those credits or whatever the course, that I could get into that place of silence and deep meditation and inner space in 1 minute, because I had spent hours upon hours upon hours upon hours getting to that place that I could then access it in 1 minute. So this is actually what the sign of Capricorn and Saturn, where the full moon is all about. It's the discipline and the daily commitment and the responsibility to yourself. Responsibility with a capital S. And because Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, is in the sign of Aquarius, so what's being brought to light with this full moon, and we're being asked to, are you fulfilled in your path of mastery? Are you fulfilled in your career, in your masterpiece? And are you willing to blah, 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 la la la. Sorry, I had to go off on that little tangent there. Moving some shit through my throat chakra, bitches! Are you flying your freak flag? Because that's what Aquarius is about. Aquarius is about breaking down what isn't working, breaking down the old structures, the way that you're limiting yourself, that you're putting yourself in a box because you want it, you want the status quo, because you don't want to rock the boat, because you're afraid you're giving over your power and authority to something outside of you, and you're saying, this is outdated. It's not giving me the freedom and the liberty and the justice. I'm not doing my soul justice. So what is the new commitment? What is the new laws that I am going to lay down for my life to be responsible to myself with a capital S? What is that for you? So I want you, let me know here in the comments, and then what I'm going to do is, Doug is in the house. What is up, Doug? Doug is an amazing, multi-talented as well musician. Plays all the instruments, like Pan with his flute. So I want you to let me know in the comments, like, this is the full moon energy that we're bathing in, right? Like, so are you having any of these things coming up for you where you're feeling like you're feeling limited or restricted by, in your career, in your path of mastery, because perhaps you've, or maybe there's like a sense of even, where you're being rigid, or you're feeling like even the community, perhaps, even the peers and your friends and the circle, like the tribe that you're in, maybe you're feeling like that you're not fulfilled in that anymore because you're not actually being all of you. Like, where are you playing small? Where are you not owning your mastery and the drumbeat of your soul, like the real, you're not, what is it called? Like the drumming to the beat of your own soul. What, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like he dances to the beat of his own drum. You know what I'm talking about? Can somebody please help a sister out when she's like, I can't remember. All right, let me get to some of these comments here. So Natalie says, when I was coming out in my business, as soon as I came out with something, then all of a sudden everyone else was doing the same. It was weird. Yeah. Okay. So that's something that I can so resonate with. And it's something that has been really interesting for me as an entrepreneur. And I've actually been like this since I was a kid, that as soon as something, like I've always been ahead of my time. Meaning, like I'm a trend caster. Like I'm able to, and I trend set as well. Meaning that, like, so for example, like I said at the beginning of this love stream, is when I was doing new and full moon circles, nobody I knew was doing new and full moon circles. Like I hadn't even heard of it. Like I thought, my ego was just like, I'm doing this brand new thing that nobody's even heard of. Turns out, that this is something that indigenous cultures have been doing for years, but in like South Florida, in a lot of the United States, like, or like nobody I knew was doing this. This was something that I tapped into when Uranus had gotten into my 4th house, and is when I was having my awakening, my personal beginning of my awakening. And then once it became popular, then I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm bored. Right? And so as soon as something starts to become popular, I'm out. I'm like, and it's kind of an interesting thing, and something that I've also been having to navigate as well, because it's like, once it's becoming popular, then there's a market for it. Right? And so something that I've been having to navigate as well is the fears that come around being avant-garde, So meaning, if you're willing to fly your freak flag and do something that's totally new, that's something brand new that nobody else is doing, something so out of the box, right? And then it's kind of like, well, is there a market for it, right? Because that takes a lot of courage. To be avant-garde means, actually, avant-garde is a military term. It means the people that are avant, they are at front of the guard. So they're at the head of the line. That's the part of the military that when you're forging into new territory or you're on the offensive, that these are the people, the soldiers that are taking the most risk, because they're putting themselves out there and where they have the highest potential to be attacked by the opposing team or by the opposing, tribe, or you know what I'm talking about. So to be avant-garde requires an incredible amount of audacity, authenticity, boldness, courage, because you're taking a big risk by putting yourself out there, and you have to risk rejection. You have to be willing to risk rejection. And this is something as an entrepreneur that if you aren't comfortable with taking risks, and you're not able to emotionally stabilize risk taking and rejection and having a launch flop, or being misunderstood in your message, maybe people not liking what you having to say, maybe feeling like you're stepping on somebody else's toes, blah, 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 get out of the game. And I say this with so much love, and I say this with so much compassion, but really, this is successful entrepreneurs they're willing to play big and emotionally stabilize, so that even when they do, and I wrote a post recently about this. I'll actually link this here in the comments, because I share a part of how, what separates those that succeed, those that are able to forge themselves in the industry as a name, as a brand, especially as avant-garde, or doing new things, is you have to be able to take risks, which means that there aren't guarantees. You're gonna play big. Like Elon Musk, for example, and let me give you an example of Elon Musk. Like, I believe at this point in time, he's the wealthiest man in the world. Was sleeping on his couch when he sold his PayPal shares. And tons of entrepreneurs, especially like people that we hear about, like that, I myself has been homeless. I've been homeless. Many other entrepreneurs have been homeless and been bankrupt on their journey to ascension, on their journey to success, because they were willing to go all in, and stay all in, to navigate the ups and downs, to take risks, to play a bigger game, and learn how to emotionally stabilize so that they can continue making moves even when it looked like it wasn't working on the outside. Your vision and your why and your purpose, you have to be so connected to your vision and your purpose, and to so believe in what you're selling, that you don't listen to the naysayers, that it's like you don't take no for an answer. And you're willing to go back to the drawing board, be willing to look at, what you did wrong, where you're wrong. I think being able to look at where you're wrong is so important. And if you're so wrapped up in your ego, that's really challenging to do, because it's human nature to want to be right. Because if you admit, because what happens is when you're willing to admit, like, I'm doing something wrong, you make it mean something about you. You make it mean something fundamentally about you and your worthiness, which it doesn't mean anything. When you start identifying with the position that you're in and not with the fact that this is just where I'm at in my journey. This doesn't mean anything about who I am or where I'm going or what I'm capable of and actually who I am. This is just something that I'm going through. This is just part of the journey. And be willing to look at where I'm wrong, where I have blind spots. This is why people that are in very, very high positions, kings, queens, presidents, superstars, actresses, big performance artists, they all have teams. They have teams to support them, to tell them, advise them, to show them their blind spots, to give them the support and the guidance that they require to rule their queendom, to build their empire, to leave a legacy. So you have to get over this. So one of the shadows of Capricorn is wanting to do things alone. Like, I need to do this all alone. Like, I can be an independent. I don't need help from anybody else. I know everything. Everybody else is wrong. I know the best way. I just need to figure this out on my own because I'm strong. Because I'm capable. I can do this all on my own. And this is the Achilles heel of the Capricorn archetype, of the Saturnian archetype. And this isn't to say that there are some things that you are so valuable about learning things on your own. But you have to really be honest and ask yourself, actually, is that holding me back? Is that holding me back? Is me trying to do this on my own? Me trying to just figure it out on my own? Me, feeling, well, I'm strong enough. I've been through everything. I can deal with everything. Is that actually making me waste a lot of time and energy that is unnecessary because I'm more in my ego than in my heart and what my heart requires and what my heart really needs and what my heart really wants? So let me come back to some of these other comments. I'm literally crying. You were. It's the full moon. It's the full moon, beautiful. Let it flow. Let all of those tears flow. I'm surrounded by Capricorns. As a Scorpio, they have taught me so much. Yeah, Capricorn, I would say that those two signs really are very simpatico. Like, they get along so well with each other because they have a lot of similar values and and gifts, like strength and perseverance and the shadows of control and but also like security. Like, Scorpio is so about emotional security, whereas Capricorn's about financial security. So that's always like whenever we're surrounded by a sign, that is a mirror. That is always an opportunity for you to, like that expression goes, if you can spot it, you got it. So like, what are your peers? What is your tribe showing you about you? Yeah. So to wrap up what this message was about is is being your own authority. Like, remind yourself, I am my own authority. I get to be my own authority. And what does me being responsible to myself with the capital S actually mean? Like, am I being cheap with myself? Am I being cheap with my soul because of my ego? Or am I giving myself what I need and what I require to fulfill my mission and my purpose? If I'm totally honest with myself, and I'm really, because I cannot tell you how many times what happens with a lot of people is that the biggest excuses that people tend to use, that the mind will come up with, is lack of money and lack of time. So, for example, what a lot of people will do is they'll get excited about something. They'll feel their heart go, ooh, I want this. Ooh, I would love to work with this person. I would love to take this class, or I would love to buy this, buy this dress, or I would love to go and travel here. But then what will very quickly happen, and it happens so quickly, so seductively, so manipulatively, is before they even allow themselves to entertain heart's desire, their brain will come in like a cock block and be like, oh, but I don't have enough money for that. Or, it's not in my budget. Or, I don't have enough time. Or all of these other excuses. And they're not actually listening to their fuck yes. Because here's the thing, is if your heart is leading you, if you're if you're concerned about being heart-led, it's not your job to allow the limitations of your 3D reality to dictate what your highest self, where your heart is leading you, desires for you. And it's so subtle. It happens all the time. And you have to train yourself to notice when you're because what you're doing is you're actually sabotaging. It's an act of self-sabotage every single time that you say, I want this, but I wish I could, but I would love to, but that is, you don't really want it. Because it's scary to you. It's scary to the part of you, to your brain, that likes what you know, what has been. But the problem with that is if you continue on the path that you have been and you want to get a different result, you have to be willing to face the obstacle that you are using as the excuse to why you can't do what you want to do. I'm going to say that again. And I'm going to use an example of a story of, there was a woman who came to me and she was telling me about how, her and her husband were really not in a good place. And, and that, there was a lot of fighting going on in the home, and that, she was scared of their family breaking up, and she had, 3 kids, and it was really this, that her home was, breaking up, and that she couldn't figure out how to navigate her relationship, and, and the anger and the frustration and all of this instability that was happening in her home. And and I shared with her, and so she was inquiring about this program. She's like, I really want to do this program. Oh my God, this is amazing. I so want to work with you, and the thing is that what actually was happening was that she was wanting to, the way that she had approached me was she wanted to do she wanted me to give her the answers, and she wanted me to share with her how I navigated through my marriage and through the abuse and the infidelity and the, the drug, like all of the things that I have led myself through in my marriage and through with my family and all of these different things. And she was just like wanting to know how I did it. And I shared with her, I said, I would be more than happy to support you in this way, and this is what it's going to cost. This is the price of the program. This is the price of working with me. And I gave her, several different options because, well, at first what happened is I said, this is what I recommend for what you're going through. Like, this is the kind of support that I can see that from where you're at, you're really requiring. And this was what she had initially was just like, I really want this. And then her response was, oh my God, that's a mortgage payment. And I said to her, well, do you want your home or not? Do you want your home or not? The excuse that she was using was the exact thing further down the line that we came to. The exact excuse that she was using was the reason she was looking for help in the first place. There was all kinds of financial stuff that was going on. She wasn't really working. There was financial disempowerment happening, blah, 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 all of these things. And so really, what was at the reason she was coming to me was that, and that was the excuse that she was using. And so this is why, and I say this over and over again, whenever you're faced with an obstacle or a challenge, it's that exact obstacle and challenge which is there to summon your magic. And so the very first act of actually stepping through the portal of initiation to go on that journey to become who you have the ability to become, to navigate the challenge, is to do the thing that you think you cannot do. Because if you really want it, you are willing to do whatever it takes. There isn't even the option. So this is the difference between women that come to me that have the desire, and perhaps they're having a financial, issue or whatever, and they're like, I really want to do this work with you, and this is really scaring me. I'm scared about X, Y, and Z, or, I'm concerned about blah, 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 but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I know that my soul is more important to me than the logical limitations of my brain. Versus the woman that comes to me and says, I really want to work with you, but I can't afford it. There is a huge energetic difference between those two women. And the difference between those two women is that one of them wants it and one of them actually doesn't really want it. And so at this point in time, that woman just wanted it for free. She wasn't willing to do the work. She wasn't willing to make the sacrifices, to let go of what she thought was keeping her safe, secure, and stable. And this is what I mean by this risk piece. This is what I mean by being willing to go all in. This is what I mean by willing to liberate yourself from all of the ways that you have structured your reality to keep you safe. And it's those structures that are actually keeping you small in your place, limited, restricted, and not growing. You have to, so here's the thing, is when you truly ask for that next step, when you say, I'm ready, when you say, I'm ready to fucking find the love of my life, I'm ready to fucking break through to consistent 10K cash months, I'm ready to fully fucking express myself and to go after my dreams, I'm willing to have the body and the health and, you know, and whatever, insert whatever it is that's up in your headspace or something that you're challenged with and you're just like, I really want this, I'm ready for it. And look at what comes to you. Look at what comes to you. And because that is an opportunity of initiation. But the only person that can actually step through that portal is you. So how many opportunities, how many initiations are being presented to you that you are self-sabotaging because you're trying to play it practical, responsible, and logical? So I'm choosing where I want to go with this because I feel like this is coming to a natural close. So if this is resonating with you, you know, and you want to take this step further, there's a lot of different ways to work with me. And there's ways to work with me at every different price point, because what I'm on a mission for is, first of all, to liberate women from them giving over their power to money. Meaning where they allow money to be more powerful than them. And what I mean by that is, if you don't do what you want to do, go where you want to go, buy what you want to buy, because you don't have the money, you are giving over your power to money. You are inverted. That's an inversion. You're saying that your heart and your soul comes last, that your intuition is wrong, and that money is more powerful than love. Money is just energy. Money is, but you have to get into right relationship with it. And this is a journey. It's something that even all of the, you know, the wealth coaches and the money coaches and the business coaches, they still are going on their own personal journey with money too. Because there's always more and more and more levels. It's never done. However, they have come back to a fundamental truth that they know that money is there to support them. Money supports me. I am my own authority. Money is not my authority. I'm not money's little bitch. Money is my bitch. So when women come to me, I have free masterclasses that I offer on a quite frequent basis. I have intro level courses. I have mid-level programs, masterminds. I have high level masterminds, and then I also have private one-on-one mentorship. So just reach out to me if you're wondering, like, yeah, I want to do something. I'm feeling your message, point me in the right direction. Or maybe it's not me. Maybe it's another colleague of mine that, if I feel like we're not a good fit, I'm like, you know what, actually this person would be more, I know that this would be really up your alley. I'm happy to do that as well. I'm always, happy to share my connections and my community with my, with my people. So right now, I have a free masterclass that is coming up. It's called The Origins of the High Priestess. the oracular and sexual powers of sirens, snakes, mermaids, and dragons. And so this is going into the origins of the High Priestess soul fractal. So if intuition, priestess energy, temple work, ritual, ceremony, if that's something that, you know, you're really into, and this is a free masterclass, or any of those archetypes, if any of those, you know, power animals, snakes, mermaids, dragons, if those are one of your resonances, you definitely want to check this out. I taught this course, a different version of it, I believe several years ago, and it is so gold, and there's so much more that I'm going to be bringing to it this time around, especially the sexuality piece. So that's a free masterclass. If you want that, let me know in the comments. Hey, Jen. There's also going to be a 10-day incubator, which is the High Priestess Constellation. So if you're like, I really am about this, like I want to get in the incubator. I mean, this is, so it's a 10-day, like fully being